I think we should. I think if we go into this topic, we ought to delve into something else because I feel like if we're going back and forth on the same point, so I don't know. Is there any other,
Whether it is a patriarchal household or a matriarchal household?
I don't like the concept of that either. What is the obsession?
What do you mean obsession? This is the world. This is what is real. This is where we are. Good day, everybody. Welcome to Love Rab with Ghyanne.
I'm Ghyanne. I'm excited to be here today talking to you guys.
Omavi.
Hey everyone, this is Omavi. I am really glad to be a part of this panel. I am, your world's famous rabologist. So we're gonna get into some things. We're gonna chop it up. Yeah?
Adiola.
This is your girl Adiola, and I am happy to have you guys on board with us today for Love Rab.
Gershwin, your resident red man, here to give that opinion that you know you have, but you're not comfortable saying.
I like that.
So basically, the gist of the conversation last time was that basically I was saying that for a relationship to work, there must be a dominant party and a submissive party, because somebody will always have leverage over the other. But I don't think it can ever be equal in any relationship, because one person will always have some measure of leverage over the other, whether it is financial leverage, where it is a man who makes a lot of money and the woman doesn't make any money, or they make the same amount of money but the woman is really attractive and the man doesn't believe that he will ever be able to get a woman who looks that good, so he will bend to her will to keep her quote unquote happy so that she doesn't leave him. And well, I don't want to talk for Ghyanne, but basically her view.
You emphasize it being the man, by the way, but go ahead.
Well, yes, but and again, based on the reality of the world we live in currently, and Ghyanne's view was that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ghyanne. Ghyanne, give your view. It's your view. I don't want to misquote you.
Right. I said that submission to me is based on your strength in a particular situation and based on that situation. So it shouldn't necessarily be that one person is the final say, calling all the shots, regardless of the circumstances and the opinions, but that it should be something more collaborative. I just said that it shouldn't be a situation where I feel a way, you feel a way, and your way is above mine. It should be a conversation. It should be something that we agree to, and then, okay, if your decision happens to be the one that makes the most sense overall, because we should be two free-thinking individuals with understanding, then go with that. But it's not going to be, I feel this way, you feel this way, use the man, go ahead, take free reign. It just doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, though.
With that in terms of that, but I don't have an issue with submission per se. It's just not based on the man or woman.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was on the fence. I actually agreed with them both last week. I understood the merit in both points. I also understand that things can be very theoretical, and then there's the practical aspect, right? So in I guess in a utopian sense, Ghyanne's idea would be what would be predominantly viewed in the world we live in today. However, because of when you're talking about issues like these, you have to talk about culture, you have to talk about psychology, all these kind of things with it.
Yeah.
And that's why I would have agreed with Gershwin. I think one of the problems with the word submission when it comes to marriage, you have to look back at the cultural aspect of where it was, right? And as Ghyanne said, yes, it has evolved. So now is not subjugation, right? Submission, it carries a different connotation right now, right? Subjugation. But Ghyanne she asked something, what is the obsession with leadership, and it isn't necessarily an obsession, and if it is an obsession, it is an obsession that is projected by women. Women do that. Women put men in certain positions, and they say this is what a man is supposed to do and whatever. But when a man says, okay, cool, well, I want to be the leader, then I don't know. I have a problem with the how should I say it, like the convenient, okay, I wanted to lead in some aspects, but you can't lead in certain aspects, and I have a problem with that.
Okay.
So yeah, Ghyanne, sorry, not Ghyanne, Adiola. You know, you can expound on your agreement with
All
Ghyanne.
right. So yeah, I agree with Ghyanne because I would not want to take any direction from someone that does not even know how to lead. You have to be able to demonstrate to me that you know what you're about, that you can lead. And then if it resonates with me, then I would be able to follow. I can't just meet a guy and he's like, okay, you have to obey everything that I say and go with whatever I say, just like that. I know that culturally, this is how we were brought up, but I think we need to step away from the olden days and what we were taught back then. Do things modernized.
Yeah, but Adiola, I don't think you're disagreeing with me, you know, because the point I kept trying to make is that if a woman is selecting a man, she's going to select a man that she can submit to.
Oh, yes. Yes. So I wasn't here for the beginning of your
True.
whole thing, so I didn't know that this is exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
So ironically, this week there's an article floating around with Dwayne Wade and his wife. I don't know if you all saw it.
Oh
On
yeah,
Facebook.
I saw that. I saw that.
Video a little bit, but I didn't read it.
The feminists were celebrating that, so you know, of course, it came across the timeline.
Yeah, but ironically, I think he was kind of in the article, you know, more on Ghyanne's side in terms of like that. Well, I think so. To me, it came across as a little bit of pandering as well too, because I mean, we have to really realize that Hollywood is a whole different day.
Oh,
They
yes.
operate by a whole different set of rules and stuff like that, right? Which is why I really hate when people use them as goals and stuff like that, right? Their problems, not our problems, right? So I understand the political aspect in terms of the pandering and stuff like that, but I agree with Gershwin. So for example, I'm from Deep South Trinidad, right? One thing I pride myself is that I always say most of Deep South Trinidad men, not just South, but Deep South Trinidad men are very manly. So like when it comes to fixing the car, when it comes to, in terms of masculinity, like stuff like that, like the pragmatic sense. So if it's minor plumbing, I could do that, minor electrical, minor. These are things that were passed on through the generation. And because of that, our selection process down here is based on that in terms of women selecting men. Women will automatically go for men who, one, yes, working and have an income and so because they need that kind of security, but they also look for other sorts of security, not just financial, but emotional, physical, just those kind of things. And these are things that would add to that idea. So based on that, I don't automatically expect a woman to be like, okay, Omavi could do some stuff on the car, Omavi could do some stuff on the home, or he could cook or whatever. Automatically, he is a leader, because within that, like, I am not the most in terms of making financial decisions. Like my ex-girlfriend, she was the person who would have made the financial decisions between us because that is her avenue. And I would allow her to, you know, but just generally to go to Arthur Gershwin's point, generally women, whether they want to admit it or not, they select subconsciously men who adds something that they can follow. Probably it's a cultural thing, but that is just what happens.
But sorry, go ahead.
No, but what I've noticed is this rarely happens with women when they reach a certain age. Younger women tend to not follow that trend. I believe with the older women, they pick and pick and pick and pick and choose, and then when they can't get anything that they really want and they realize, okay, I'm at a certain age, I don't have children, I'm not married or whatever, they pick up anything that they get and just go with the flow.
But again, that is based on selection, because yes, you have women selecting men and you have men selecting women. So everybody has their ideal, right? Everybody has the person in their mind, like, I want this, I want that. And then the older you get as a woman, you know,
You follow all the things that you really want in a man, and you just pick whatever you get. Because the picking after you reach a certain age is not very great.
The pool of men that you have available will reduce. And the same thing for men. If your money in long and your body in good, the pool of women you have available is narrow. So we have the incel.
The money part we could agree on. The body part.
You don't care about the body?
Not me personally. Not me personally. The body has to match.
You had to match that energy.
But women, they don't care about the body as long as the finances is there.
And well, that's the thing, because men in our society value is dependent on ability to provide. Not necessarily the body. So like you will see men with no hairline and big bellies, but the BMW and the Mercedes is in the girls' Instagram stories every day, you know, because that is what is being selected for. That is why men are competitive financially, and men would assume higher risk, whether it's legal or illegal means, to garner wealth and garner symbols of wealth. So, for example, the thick gold chain, thick like this, and the expensive vehicle, the land, the house, all of those things are symbols of wealth that assist in men's sexual selection. On the other hand, women, what is valued in women by men is physical attractiveness, caregiving, the ability to produce heirs, support, you know, generally feminine qualities. And the older a woman gets, caregiving and looking after the house and the children, and the man, you know, being his peace, being his support system. Because again, society doesn't generally support men who have low value. You're a low value man, hard luck. You're a high value man, yes, we love you. So
yeah, and a lot of what you're saying too has a lot to do with psychology. Because in development theories and stuff like that, it's often proven that mothers and sons grow closer, fathers and daughters grow closer, right? In development stages and stuff like that, right? And that goes into to just development on the whole. So what happens is that when it's time to find a mate, jump high, jump low, women look for men to replace their fathers. Men look for women to replace their mothers. So I think probably the approach and how they do it is something that can be brought up for question, but that is true. So like nurturing is a big thing for men, like generally, and provision is a big thing for women generally. I think the only thing I would disagree with Gershwin in terms of the financial thing, I think that has to do with culturally what is valued within a specific society. You know, probably in an Eastern country or somewhere, that provision thing may not. I mean, it's important, but in terms of like finances, like provision, I don't know. Probably, and this is just me supposing.
But can we?
Ability to farm.
Can we separate?
It might be something else outside of that.
Can we separate the individual from their culture, though?
No,
you can't.
But I want to cut into one thing that Mavi was saying about South and how they pick, right? And how you and your ex-girlfriend used to operate. And I think that was the hugest thing that me and Gershwin had an issue with, is that he still felt that regardless, that one person should make the final decision. And I had a big problem with that. So my issue with some men is that so you identify that your ex-girlfriend is stronger with accounting or finances, right? But you were humble enough to accept that and let her take the lead.
Yeah.
Some other men will know that they can't and bad spending money and ruin their family into the ground just because they want to have that position of authority or that final say in every single decision that is going on in his household. And if his wife takes the lead in some aspects, based on, again, strengths or what she's good at, he sees that as her undermining him, or I guess her trying to control him, and of course reducing him as a man. So that's where I felt as though it was a bit shaky for me in terms of where Gershwin was going. Also the aspect of being able to submit. I think I always maintain that I obviously want somebody that I could submit to, because the point is that we could submit to each other.
Agreed.
And I think I just wanted to put that in there, because I don't want it to be that throughout the entire podcast, it seems as though I'm saying that I don't want to submit to a man at all or whatever. Obviously, you want to meet somebody that is your equal, and you want to meet somebody that respects you in that way, that it goes beyond just finances or it goes beyond gender, but that he understands or is humble enough to understand that, okay, my wife is much better than this. I can understand that he's much better than this, and we could work together to make a great decision overall for everybody, versus it being about ego. But
so let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question though, because it just keeps popping into my mind, right? Do you agree that, do you think, not agree, but do you think that an institution can be run by two leaders? The reason why I'm saying that is because, yes, I'd give my ex-girlfriend free reign over like finances and whatever was her strength, right? But she'll always come back and say, well, this is what I'm doing, so by so. How you think about that? I'll be like, yeah, well, that's just my personality. I'll be like, yeah, you big up, you fix up yourself, right? So I don't know if that was her feminine way of still allowing me to lead by having, I guess, the final say. Well, it's not really a final, but you know that, like bringing it.
Well, I see that more respect in terms of that. I mean, yes, she knows that, okay, yes, but she's giving you that respect of, I don't know the situation, maybe the two of y'all were earning. Was it that the two of y'all were earning, or was it just your money she was controlling?
No, it was the both of us, but whenever I'd be like, hey, this is what go on, XYZ, that kind of thing.
Okay, well, maybe in that instance, she was saying, well, since the two of us think she consults in you regardless. And I think that's where it is for me, is that not necessarily that there's one leader, but is a situation where circumstances would change the concept of what leadership is. So in that instance, she's the leader, but she still consulted you and gave you that respect. And in another instance, you might want to buy something for the house, but you'd still consult her and give her that respect. Yes, it's your decision, it don't make a difference, but there isn't a situation where it's like, for me, I don't look at hierarchy in that structural sense in a relationship. I don't really need to feel I don't really need to feel as though I'm a leader all the time, because being a leader and controlling all the time is exhausting as hell. And I also don't want to feel as though somebody's trying to control me all the time, because I don't feel as though I could flourish and help in any way I can if I feel as though my opinion isn't valued or valid by the person that I'm with. So the concept of hierarchy for me won't ever really stick, but it isn't to say that, again, I don't respect his decisions, or I don't allow him to make certain decisions and trust that the decision is correct, if I'm being clear enough for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the difference in what was received and what I intended to say probably was, it should never be a situation where the woman feels like she's being forced or controlled, you know. It's leadership. It's leadership through communication and cooperation. So final say sounds, you know, hard and fast and strong, but in my opinion, from my point of view, what Omavi described with how she was still clearing the financial decisions with him, is still her using feminine approach, you know, as opposed to, hey, I go in and buy this, and Omavi just...
You're a little bit calmer after 3 than you are after 6, noted. Because that was what you were saying last week, but I'll give you a bye.
As I said, I still believe that a woman would prefer a man that she would be willing to submit to, right? Yes. She's not going to choose to listen to a man who she doesn't believe she can submit to. But the way that submission is practiced could look different. So Omavi in his relationship, letting his woman make the final decisions and give the financial make the financial decisions and give the financial advice is leadership, as delegation. You know, he's delegating the responsibility. So in his organizational relationship, she's the financial controller, but she still has to send the signature, she still has to send the document for signatures by Omavi.
I just want to cut in. That's one view. You could say that he did that, or you could say that the two of them decide that she was better at that, and hey, you take up that role. I ain't really doing that.
Fair.
I mean, because in relationships, each person has their own strengths.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so each person has their own strength, and it shouldn't be that the final say is on the man. So we both identify each other's strengths, and if it is that the female is stronger in terms of finances, in terms of running the house, in terms of actually working or bringing any money, then she should be able to handle that. And it shouldn't be that he says, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. It's supposed to be something that we both agree upon, and then the decision is made.
Yeah, and one thing I want to maintain too is that it's not to say that, because I think this is an argument people have too, is that, oh Jesus Christ, isn't to say that every single decision everybody needs to be is a more essential decisions. Everybody should have enough
Autonomy
and autonomy to make. And I'm not going to ask you to call me to buy which cheese to buy. Or which this to buy, or I want to buy something for the house, that kind of thing. But if we're making bigger decisions, then there must be some consultation going on. It's not to say every little decision I need to be inside of, because decisions I don't want a man to feel like getting into, like which curtain to buy, and it doesn't need to be, but still for more essential decisions like what house to get, you would want that collaborative effort and not necessarily like,
But
just want to say that.
I still feel though that and we looking at situations where there's agreement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And cooperation, but in situations where there's disagreement, what happens?
I guess
to agree to disagree.
So
you could come to a common ground, then.
But again, we're looking at a situation. Let's look at a situation where we cannot come to common ground. So for example, Ghyanne want to buy blackout sheets. I say I don't want no blackout sheets.
Why?
You buy two sheets.
Don't worry about that. That is the decision. Blackout sheets or no blackout sheets.
No, you see, this is the thing.
And we're going back and forth.
This is the thing with relationships. You are telling me that we cannot do this unless you give a valid reason why it cannot be done. I cannot agree with it. I will not go with it.
Okay, but so this is what I'm thinking, right?
Sense.
I mean, something like sheets. I don't care about sheets that much. If you really don't want the sheets, I don't think I'll care that much to buy the sheets I want. But sheets is not something that really concerns me in a deep way.
This is something I'm thinking, right? I think when it comes to relationships, although there are overt and general principles that apply, I think that relationships are always subject to the individuals. The reason why I'm saying that, while you're speaking, I remember many years ago, I'd read this, I don't know if you all know John Maxwell and his whole leadership library of books, right? So I have, John Maxwell, he has this, I can't remember which iteration of his leadership books, but there's one that I read. And there's something that you said earlier, Gershwin, when I was talking about delegation, right? Which is so true, because that is what a leader would do. The best leaders are service leaders, always. Best leaders are service leaders. And in service, that's how you give people the blah, you give people the rope, you delegate and stuff like that, right? But I think, which is something that so they kind of touched on it, but they didn't delve too much in it in terms of that book. In terms of like relationship and marriage and stuff like that, I think like there's a different dynamic to general organizational leadership, where I am the head, I do this, you come and you sign it off. However, if I don't want blackout curtains, even if I know you are the best interior designer on my team, in terms of organizational structure, what I want for my company, I know what is. You understand? I think with relationship, because it operates differently in terms of like that kind of eros type of relationship, marriage and stuff like, because it operates differently. You have to live with this person, or you have to deal with this person, or you're planning a future. However, I think what you need to take into consideration is personalities either clashing or blending, because generally leaders are elected, unless I start up a company, how you elect a leader is by meritocracy, right? And which is something I touched on in the last podcast. Meritocracy isn't something that would that has a definite end in terms of a relationship like marriage and stuff like that. Because as Ghyanne was saying, somebody will have more credentials or higher credentials in one area, somebody may, so in that there isn't like a linear aspect of meritocracy in terms of I am the best hunter or I am the best gatherer, therefore I am the chief of this village. I think it will be, like, yes, I real good at hunting, but this person will have a green thumb, this person is a better gatherer. So, I think it's very, like, when it comes to relationships, the whole submission thing is really subject to the couples. And the next thing too, as well too, I know that submission generally leaves a bad taste in women's mouth because of patriarchal stuff and religious stuff and stuff like that. But what I've learned is that in relationships, submission doesn't necessarily equate to subjugation, which is different in the connotative sense. I don't know what you all think about it.
So I agree with you. I think one of the things I have an issue with is comparing a relationship directly to how a company is run, because I don't think they're the same thing. In organizations now, how organizations are run now with the huger companies is that they realize the essentials of having a leader that is on the same plane, or at least on the same plane as the staff. So, before they used to have the CEO in the higher office. Now we have the CEO on the same floor in an open cubicle with his staff, or we're realizing the essentials of collaboration in an organization. But still, in a relationship, there's that emotional aspect. In an organization, your leader don't care about your happiness in this deep way that if you choose a sheet, it's going to make you real sad because, I don't know, you had a childhood issue with those kind of sheets and, or that, I don't know. So, but your man or your lady might feel bad because she buying the sheet, but you have deep issues with the sheet, so she'll just go ahead and let you take over the sheet. But I don't think even in those examples, it was necessarily about control or anybody's losing. I think when you bring the concept of love in there now, there are certain things you would sacrifice, and it doesn't necessarily feel like a sacrifice because you know that they aren't as essential, or they don't mean as much to you as the other person. So you give in that respect on certain decisions, not because you're losing or there's some control there, but because you love the person enough that it doesn't really hurt you to go with what they say in some aspects that feel a little bit more meaningful to them than you.
Sound like you're agreeing with me.
You will never agree with each other
because you're talking about, you know what you just said? You will submit in a situation where the person has leverage over you.
But I've been saying I will submit to the decisions my partner makes, and he will submit to mine. I've been saying that. I've maintained that.
Because but again, if in every decision you have to consider the other person's feelings.
Yeah.
Then in a case by case basis, will feelings always be what makes the decision?
Of course not. But if it's something as simple, I mean, you brought the sheets example.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just making a a surface level.
We do a decision. Okay, let's go a huger way. Let's go about children, right? Let's go with how children eat. If you eat meat and I'm a vegan.
How about this? Instead of what children eat, let's talk about having children.
Having children. Yeah, let's talk about having children.
Right? So
the biggest you hear.
My decision with that is that when you have something as big as that, you should have that discussion before you even get into a partnership. Because that is a big decision. That is not just a simple, a decision of how many children we're going to have. That is if we're even going to embark on this life-changing journey. It's the same as if for me, how I eat. If you're a vegan and you want your spouse to be a vegan, don't date me. Because I like meat and I don't think that's something that I want to shift into. If you are a Muslim and I'm a Christian and I don't see myself becoming into your religion and you don't see yourself changing or adjusting into mine, I don't think we should fit. That's a big decision in my perspective that I don't think these people should mix.
So you're saying that in a situation like that, it's better just to not be in the relationship?
I believe for certain very big decisions like that, if the two people are really not seeing, like, it have a difference between no children and I don't see any children in the next 10 years. I don't see any children right now. I don't see any children until the money come in. But if you're saying no, and I want 10 children, then it will never work.
So really. How many children do you want?
You ask me that or you're asking the woman?
No, I'm asking you.
I don't have a number per se. Obviously I don't want like a field of children, but it varies. When I was young, I wanted one child, and as I get older, I see the value of being an only child is a bit lonely.
All right.
The thing with the children thing is, I just want to say one thing. The thing with the children thing is that I mean, in a perfect setting, those are conversations that would be had in pursuing a relationship in a perfect setting. But it don't happen like that all the time. Like, you know that, because people change. Like, you could enter a relationship and you both on the same, and then all of a sudden somebody just, it's like marriage. Like, okay, you want somebody, I mean, that might be a razor answers, but all of a sudden you want somebody, and then all of a sudden either the guy or the woman want to backpedal, you know, because people change. And that's the truth about human beings and relationships. And as people change, decisions change. So let's say it's not a perfect setting where you have had the decision before, but you all enter a relationship, you all going down, and then, you know, who makes the leadership decision there in terms of the children or not?
Well, for me, with a decision like children, like for example, Ghyanne said 1 or 2 children. If the man is saying, I don't want any children, then for me, that should be the end of the relationship. Mm-hmm. For me,
thank you.
The relationship should be mutually beneficial. So it's not a so I don't believe, okay, and again, with what I'm saying about submission is not, Ghyanne is in a relationship with a gentleman. He checks all her boxes. He makes the amount of money she wants. He looks the way she wants. He puts the bygone in the way she like it. Everything is on point. But they have a problem with children. He doesn't want any children. Maybe he has had children before and he doesn't want any more children, or he had bad experience with his parents and he doesn't want to be a bad parent and he's afraid of having children, whatever. I think that trying to convince him to have children would end up in the long run would be bad for him, her, and the children. And in a situation like that, end the relationship, cry, say your tears, go through your little 6 months whole phase, and get into our next relationship. So when I say a woman should submit to her man, it's not just you in a relationship and if he makes a decision that you can't reconcile with, you had to just be sheepish and take it. My thing is, be in a relationship with who you could lead and who you could submit to, and everybody on the same wavelength. Everybody.
Also, you agree with me then?
I was about to say that.
Something like he's softening up.
It's exactly what Ghyanne was saying.
Okay, so for me, submission is accepting somebody else's decision. I would, boy, I have so much. Okay, so I have issues. Let me think about that, because I have the submission that I see based on societal view, and then I have the submission that I believe in. But I can't be ignorant to say that what I believe is what it is. But submission in the general sense, as I understand it, is accepting someone else's decision based on their authority. Yeah. So, do I agree with it? Do I not agree with it? In that clear-cut sense, no.
My view of submission is, according to Webster, whichever dictionary you want.
Okay.
Submission is giving up your rights to be led by giving up your individual rights to be led or to be subjugated by someone in on a hierarchical level or based on a level of power. Example, a king or a servant, politicians or whoever make the government and the arms of government, or the law, sorry, and the arms of government, etc., etc. When it relates to, as it relates to relationship, I could see Rab happening. I could see Rab. If we're using that academic definition of submission, which equates to subjugation, I could see Rab happening in a relationship.
Submission as it relates to a relationship is the act of expressing or submitting mutually and voluntarily. So it's not that one person has to agree with this person and we just go with whatever he says, but it has to be something that we both mutually agree upon, and it is voluntarily, not that you have to do it.
In terms of submission in relationships, I think that there will always be, because of the way the definition of submission is about yielding and deferring to somebody in authority. And in a relationship, you will have somebody with authority. Generally, in the society we live in, and in our experience, is usually be male authority. But in terms of situations where there is disagreement, I don't believe that it should be subjugation or abusive or so on. If you can't reconcile, if as a woman you can't submit to a specific man, or if a man you find that the woman you are with doesn't submit to you, I think that the only solution is to try again, start over, find a new relationship. Because if you have those unreconcilable differences and you are responding negatively, then it can only end up in misery and suffering.
But what you said there, then with how society is set up, then we'll have people entering and leaving relationships almost every week or every day.
But isn't that preferable to a woman getting beaten or killed, or a pregnancy that was unwanted, contributing to a lifetime of poor mental health?
Okay, so this is something completely different now, especially where you mention a pregnancy unwanted. If a woman does not want to become pregnant, there are lots of things that she can do to not be in that position.
Well, and again, we're looking at negatives. So as I say, if we look in a situation where the man decides I need to have a child and the woman decides I don't want to have children yet, all the avenues that she has to prevent conception would still result in a disagreement. What's going to happen when he finds the birth control, or he notices that her medical records?
That would be grounds to end the relationship.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Business dishonest.
You have to end the relationship. That's the only solution.
I would just say, for the submission aspect of it, that I mean, it sounds idealistic, but I think we need to talk about the ideals. It's the importance of emphasizing that two individuals need to become sure in themselves before they decide to enter a partnership with somebody else. And when you're very sure of yourself, you're sure of what you want, you're able to clearly communicate what you want, and you could work from there with somebody else, and you could align the views. And again, if it isn't working, you could leave. And it wouldn't necessarily be leaving because you're leaving every week, but you're leaving because you understand what you want and what works for you and what could work or what can't work. And you continue relationships based on that aspect. But if you always have unhealthy people jumping into different relationships and whatever, we'll always have a negative view on what submission is, because people are dysfunctional solo and extremely dysfunctional in a relationship.
thanks so much for joining us today. We look forward to having you on our next podcast. Bye.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for listening on to us. Bye.
It was really, really a pleasure. See you next time. Same space. Peace.
Like and subscribe to Sayin Summ YouTube page. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you will know every time we release a new video.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Sayin Summ. That's SAYINSUMM.
All right, guys. Remember, we need your support. Don't forget to support our Patreon.
Join us on our Facebook group where we have further discussions by way of questions where you can directly answer within the comments. See you there.
It was wonderful sharing our opinions with you today on Love Rab. Thanks for watching, and look out for the next episode where we discuss issues affecting relationships in Trinidad and Tobago